Hello, everybody. I'm Laura Haas. I'm the Dean of the College of Information and Computer Sciences. We're going to give people just about 60 seconds because I know we've got to let a lot of people into the webinar, and then we'll get this underway. I will try and update you on the state of the college. So we're a minute past. I'm going to go ahead and get going. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. This is going to be what we're calling our Computing for the Common Good Showcase. I am Laura Haas again, the Dean of the College of Information and Computer Sciences, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all here tonight. We felt that an unusual and, to say the least, trying year should deserve a little bit of fun. And so I'm really thrilled to see such an incredible cross-section of alumni, staff, faculty, visitors here. I hope that you will explore our virtual town, that you'll bump into friends and colleagues, get a chance to visit our research rooms to speak with Assistant Professor Sunghoon Ivan Lee and doctoral candidate Ami Trivedi about their work on mobile health and Wi-Fi based contact tracing respectively. And most of all, I hope you run into each other and get a chance to actually catch up. So before I give you our traditional updates on the college, a few logistics. First of all, if you have any questions, please seek out our events coordinator, Randy Barrios. Remember that name. You can contact him at any point in the evening by clicking his name in the participants list at the right in GatherTown. Similarly, if you see a name you recognize and would like to speak with them, you can click on their name and magically you will be teleported right over to them. You can also sit on a bench or couch with them if you want to have a private conversation. Otherwise, others, just like at a cocktail party, can wander up and join you. Beyond that, navigating around GatherTown is pretty self-explanatory, especially for computing folks and gamers. But if you have questions, please do ask Randy or refer to the document that we sent out in our reminder email yesterday. With that, I'm going to jump right into some updates. I'm going to go pretty quickly through this because I know you're all anxious to explore GatherTown. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what everybody wants to know about. How are we doing in the pandemic? Talking about also the events of the summer and what that has meant for our college. And then I have a bunch of really good news to share with you tonight. So first of all, the pandemic and the economic crisis in three installments. The first one is spring. We don't have freedom of choice, of course, on what to do in some sense with our students and so on. So on March 13th, when the chancellor said, that's it, everybody go home, we're staying home for the duration of the semester, that's what we did. I need to thank the faculty and staff of this college. They have been amazing. The faculty managed over the course of spring break to turn get all their courses at least capable of being taught remotely. They came back right after the break and were teaching classes as if nothing had happened, except they were teaching them on Zoom. I want to thank our students who hung in there and managed to finish the semester and do pretty darn well. We were impressed at the engagement and how everybody pulled together in that. Our staff were phenomenal, advising, careers, teaching support, our diversity office. We had to cancel in-person events, of course, but very quickly almost everything we do was offered online. And again, most of it by the time we were back from spring break. In terms of the university finances, things were not so pretty, of course. The sending everybody home cost the university a fortune in usual room and board fees. The administration all took voluntary salary cuts. The staff took involuntary furloughs and were very good about it. With all of that and a hiring freeze, we were able to close our budget for the 2020 academic year. So it wasn't grim, but it wasn't a lot of fun. In terms of our students and their careers, our career development office did see some internships and job offers being rescinded, but not as many as we feared. Most of our students did remarkably well. And we thank all of you alumni who are representing tech firms for, again, being very adaptable and continuing to make positions available for our students. Our new international students, well, all of our international students, but particularly the new international students have suffered really badly with all of this. As you probably followed, the visa freezes have kept many of them from coming on campus. We had a lot of work to try and figure out how we were going to accommodate a new generation of master's students in particular, and PhD students, if they couldn't get here, what could we do for them? How could we get them started this fall? But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. A lot of the spring was spent just trying to figure out which way was up and how we could best support and help them. We also have a fair percentage of international undergraduates, and of course, for freshmen, they were in a similar boat to our graduate students, couldn't get here necessarily, and worrying about that. The university put together what they called a jump-in program for international undergrads, and computer science offered a couple of courses in that, just to try and help international undergraduates in particular get a sense of what college instruction in the United States was like, and what it was like to take courses online and maybe even get through one or two of their required courses. I think we gave them a gen ed and something like 121, a first course in the major, to try and give them a leg up so that it wouldn't be quite as overwhelming this fall. Which brings us rapidly through the summer, which was a lot of planning and getting ready, and into the fall. And unfortunately, this is now not talking to me. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so in the fall, the chancellor made a decision in August that we would not be inviting most students back to campus. In fact, there were a very small number of students, about 700, that really needed to take a face-to-face class in order either for their major or to graduate. In particular, they were invited back to campus, students who have no place to go, no homes, or international students who had gotten stranded in the country were all allowed to stay on campus. But beyond that, no. And so we have about 1,000 out of our usual 14,000 resident undergraduates right now. For only a very small subset of classes across the university are being offered face-to-face, and all CICS classes are being offered remotely. But what's changed since the spring, when faculty had, a week to figure out how they could possibly teach their material online, and mostly did, Zoom lectures in real time. What's happened over the course of the summer is the faculty worked incredibly hard to get most of their classes be more of a true online experience. And those are now ongoing. Both faculty and students find that they're a lot more work than a face-to-face class. The faculty are recording lectures ahead of time so that students scattered around the globe can have access to the lectures. But that means they have to listen to the lectures, and we're still trying to offer synchronous discussion sessions for all classes. That because of the people scattered around the globe phenomenon means that many faculty are offering 2 sessions a day. So it can be between 2 and 3 times the amount of time sunk into teaching and learning than any of us were used to. It's well, to be fair, it's a drag, okay, but we're making it through, and the faculty and students have all been really good sports, and I'm pleased. I just finished a set of roundtables with our students and our undergraduates, were at pains to tell me that computer science has it going on, i.e. we actually get what it takes, and that our faculty have by and large bent over backwards, and they feel that they're much better classes than what they're getting from other parts of campus. So I'm really proud of our faculty for that. Meanwhile, our staff are indefatigable. They just keep on going. All of our advising functions are online, all of our careers function, our teaching support, both for the TAs and the faculty, is online. Our wonderful IT folks, including Alex, shout out to Alex, who's running this webinar for us. All of that went seamlessly online. And our diversity office stepped up its game, and more about that in a minute here, but shout out to that office, because when you're scattered to all corners of the globe, it's really hard to get a sense of community, and they have really worked hard to build community across faculty, students, and staff, and at the same time teach us about inclusion and diversity. Our hiring's still frozen, but again, I'll say more about that in a few minutes. I'm not brokenhearted, you can probably tell by looking at me. We could use the year off, amongst other things, although we'll probably miss out on a few really good candidates. Less happily, we've had to take a second round of staff furloughs, which is really unfortunate. From computer science's perspective, we did not need to do that to meet our financial goals in order to help the university, but the bargain with the union was such that the pain had to be spread evenly across the staff, and so our staff also have been impacted by that. There was a lot of doom and gloom and worry about enrollments, which of course are huge from the university perspective. Tuition does pay for most of what we do. Our undergraduate population actually went up slightly from year to year. You can see we're up to over 1,500 undergraduates. Our master's population stayed pretty much steady despite all these questions, because so many of our MS students are international, and our PhDs also stayed, roughly constant, with a good number graduating and a good number starting. But we are still struggling to get our students in and into the country. Okay. Shout out to the faculty too. As you might expect, we did not want to sit idly by from the research sense, to the extent that we have skills, technology, and research possibilities. We jumped in to help out with the pandemic, and so there's been a raft of new research going on during this crisis. I won't talk about Wi-Fi trace, because I will say it's a really nice networking app, and so I know we have a lot of networking alum out there. go check out Ami Trivedi's presentation in her room and get a sense of what they're doing on that. She works with Professor Prashant Shenoy. FluSense is a detection mechanism for respiratory illness. It's a sensor box basically that can, it uses AI to figure out how many people are coughing and where there might be an uptick and so on in flu symptoms or sounds of flu. Can't tell COVID from flu at this point. Two of our faculty, Professor Sung-Hoon Ivan Lee, who's going to be talking about a slightly different project tonight, but you can ask him about this, and Professor Theodor Rahman were part of an international task force that concluded that mobile health technologies could be used to monitor COVID-19 patients at home, and that got a lot of really positive press. And then we have faculty and a recent master's student who are collaborating with Umass Amherst CDC Influenza Forecasting Center of Excellence. That is one of only 2 such centers of excellence in the entire country. The other one is at CMU. And we're very proud of the work they're doing, where they've taken what they do for flu, and they're also using it to forecast trends with the COVID pandemic. All right, so enough about that. That wasn't the only crisis this year. As you may all remember, there was, in fact, a lot of unrest this summer for very good reason. I think we were all shocked and really upset by the rapid deaths of so many Black men and women, but culminating, of course, with the death of George Floyd. It was very clear this community wanted to do something about that, and really wanted to take a good look at ourselves and how racism and inequality might manifest itself in our, to be fair, mostly positive community. So we came together as a college shortly after George Floyd's death to talk in a series of community conversations about what students, staff, and faculty experience. Our first community conversation had well over 100 attendees, which is, I think, a record for this college. And the part that really touched me was they were almost equally divided between faculty, staff, and students. There was really huge representation, and students included graduate students, PhD and masters, and undergrads. So over the course of the summer, I met with ongoing groups, every couple of weeks to talk about this. And in parallel, we formed a committee, with totally volunteer committee against racism and for equity, as we say. So the CARE committee, which spawned 4 subgroups, which worked really hard all summer, meeting once to twice a week to come up with a set of projects that we could start to address immediately right here in our college. Projects like a student source book to try and help all students feel equally at home and give them the same basic education, so that those who have more experience in academia and US academia would not be advantaged over students who might have very little background, first generation students, for example. Things like helping educate our faculty and best practices in inclusive teaching, and so on. I won't go through all of these, but these are the 8 projects that were picked out to be worked on this fall. As we check off projects, they have a long list of other things that we'd like to do, that we think we could tackle. And so I see this as something that will be an ongoing stream of activity as we work to make this an ever more inclusive community where everybody can feel at home and happy here. Another thing we did was we had a pledge that the community members could take that they would take action in order to learn more about racism and inequality and how it manifests itself. We had, again, well over 100 people signing that pledge, again, across the community, included some alumni, thank you. And a lot of those pledges I know have been acted on. We had a celebration just a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Time flies when you're having fun, but I think it was just a week ago, in which we had a speaker, an undergrad, master's, and faculty member talk about their research in bringing visualizations that W.E.B. Du Bois made back in the early 1900s up into the modern era, and comparing and contrasting the state of Blacks in America then and now. Very cool talk, and a nice way to kind of celebrate the community's commitment here. Okay. I've hinted at this several times, but we had a really terrific hiring season this year, despite the pandemic. In fact, it might have been an even stronger one, except that unfortunately, in early April, when it was clear that people were panicking and might just accept jobs that might or might not be good for them, and when it was clear that we had already well exceeded our hiring authorization, because unlike the usual world when a lot of people tell us no, we just happen to have gotten a lot of really nice accepts. The chancellor and provost had to ask me to not go forward with any further offers, and in fact to withdraw those that had been made verbally but had not been finalized. That was a really painful thing. We had a number of really great folks we were courting, but we hired a bunch of really great folks, and I couldn't be more thrilled. We have 6 of them that have started this fall. You'll see a couple of teaching faculty, and then people in all across the spectrum. We have 4 more joining us in January 2021, including Ethan Zuckerman, who's joint hire with the School of the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and he's kind of a digital civics sort of person. His very timely current research interests are in how can we build a better social web. How can we make one without all the problems that we see today? And wait, there's more. Starting across the next couple of years, we have 3 more faculty who have already been hired. So in all, that was 13 faculty, and as you may have noticed from the pictures, they are, of the 13, 6 of them are female, 1 Black, 1 Hispanic. So it was a banner year as well for diversity recruiting and hiring. I could not have been more pleased. Okay, and then there's our existing faculty. They've done a few good things too, as you might expect. First of all, we're really happy to welcome back Jim Carosa to the college. He has been, as you all probably were aware, at NSF for the past 4 years. So he returned this fall. He's teaching his undergraduate networking class, which he wanted to be online anyway. So he got his wish. And I'm really pleased to say that he was elected to the National Academy of Engineering. We also welcome back Hava Siegelman, who has been at DARPA for the last 4 years, and are really pleased that she was honored with the DARPA Meritorious Public Service Medal, not something they give out very often. So we're very pleased to have her back with us as well. Prashant Shenoy had this incredible year. He won the Conti Fellowship from the university, which gives him a nice year to stand back and do some research. He was made a university distinguished professor. And as you'll see in the line below, he's one of our 3 ACM fellows in the class of 2020. And that was, no other university out there had that many fellows this past year. So we're very pleased with all 3 of those. Meanwhile, on the teaching front, Ramesh Siddharaman won the Distinguished Teaching Award at the university level. This is the 3rd year in a row that a CICS faculty member has won this very prestigious award. They only give 2 or 3 a year. So this is, I think, overdue recognition of the fine teaching talent we have in this college. And then we give our own College Outstanding Teaching Award, which this year went to Michelle Trim, who runs our junior year writing program, and to pretty much universal acclaim. She has made that into the envy of the university. Okay, and finally, I need to say thank you. Very important thank you. First of all, let me introduce someone new. You'll meet him in Gathertown later, and that's our new Director of Philanthropy, Ed Welch. He's stepped in to fill Julie Stubbs' shoes, for those of you who knew Julie. And Julie, don't worry, is still around. She has moved into a strategy role for me, working very closely with me to try and figure out how to build up our corporate and foundation relationships in particular. But Ed will be focusing on private philanthropy. And we had a bang up year, and that's why I'm saying thank you. We had generous alumni endow the Massenburg Institute, which is a summer program that does outreach to disadvantaged youth, particularly youth of color, who are being ill-served by their public schools, to kind of get them interested in STEM and STEM careers and teach them about what a 4-year campus experience could look like. Try to prepare them for a bigger future than they might otherwise see in the schools that they're in. We also had generous alumni funding for a program we're currently calling CS Pioneers, which is really a residential academic program, or will be when we can get the students back here. Right now, we're doing what we can remotely to try and get this program going. But the idea is to take students who are a little less prepared for computer science and give them a peer group, a network, extra support, the kind of tutoring and other things that can just give them the right combination of social and academic support to thrive in our environment, and do this in their freshman year so that they're set for the longer term. We had 1 new undergraduate scholarship funded by an alumni donation, and 1 very generous donor funded 2 new graduate scholarships, 1 for a first-year woman in the PhD program and 1 for a systems student in honor of one of my classmates from graduate school at UT, Dr. C. Mohan. He's a longtime friend of mine, and it turns out of this alumnus. And then many of you responded to our request for help to meet the technology needs of our now remote students. And we were able to raise well over 21,000, which actually takes care of all the technical needs, equipment needs, and so on that we're aware of so far from our students. We are going to use the rest of that money for scholarships to support students who are, because of the loss of their on-campus jobs or in other ways, struggling to make ends meet. And finally, we had some very nice corporate philanthropy at all. We got a major gift from Adobe to kickstart a partnership that we hope will be really profitable for our faculty and for their researchers in terms of generating new, really impactful research ideas. So it's kind of like getting money to do what you wanted to do anyway. So it was a really lovely partnership idea. So with that, I'm going to stop talking, a little slower than I was supposed to be, sorry. But I will ask if there are any questions. And I believe you could, to ask questions, you can use the Q&A tool at the bottom. And if you don't have any questions, you're free to go off and explore GatherTown. I'll give you just a minute, but I'm not seeing any questions there. No open questions, it says. Okay, well, in that case, I thank all of you who've hung in there. Whoops, there is a question. That's just because I said there aren't any. The question is, where do I see CICS going into the future? And I see us going even further and even higher than we are now. But that shouldn't surprise any of you who've gotten to know me over the years. I think what our faculty and staff have shown us this year, and our students for that matter, is that we go forwards no matter what the situation is, and that we we can make things happen regardless of the circumstances. And so we are continuing on our quest to rise into the top 10 in the rankings, but that's just a shorthand for saying do what we do even better, and be there to be able to be there and providing the world's best experience for our students, and allowing our faculty to really thrive and lead the nation and have impact on the nation as we go. So we've, to that end, we're working really hard, as I said earlier, on inclusion and an inclusive society. We think that kind of support that is necessary for some of our marginalized populations also really, really helps those of us who are here and aren't marginalized. We have everything going for us, and we want to do much more in terms of bigger research leadership roles for our faculty. We have at the moment, we're working in parallel on 3 different large-scale center proposals in a variety of interesting areas, although actually 2 of them at least have to do with health and health informatics. There's just so much going on. We want to be famous for computing for the common good, and we really want to do our part in this world. So I'm gonna say we're enough over time that I'm gonna release you all. I hope you'll have fun with this format and with GatherTown. Please do visit the rooms, learn more about the Computing for the Common Good research, talk to our faculty member, our senior adorable graduate student. You'll like her. You'll like both of them. And there's even a game room. You can go play Tetris, go have fun. And again, remember, the name you need to know if you have any questions is Randy Barrios. And so just click on his name in the participant list if you have questions or need to talk to him. And I will be in GatherTown shortly and hope to run into many of you there. And if you have other questions, please let me know when I bump into you. Bye-bye.